fantastic book. I really love this book. I strongly encourage everybody to get a copy of it. Keep it in your library. I think this is going to be one of those important books for you. We've got 4 wonderful topics we're going to be talking about this evening, and so here very shortly we'll get into that. And I've even got a show and tell on the final topic of the evening in there. So I think that'll be kind of exciting. It's something you can do inexpensively. You can even do it cheaper than I did. But money's going to be hard to come by here in the near future. So let's see who all's here. Sumi was the very first one. Thank you, Sumi. Welcome. And thank you for enduring last night. As a Canadian, I'm sure that the U.S. government and politics and everything else is not that interesting or not that directly influential to you. However, thank you for participation. Thank you for your vast knowledge about our government and our Constitution and our way of doing things. So thank you very much for that. See Jack, my friend from Australia, Hill Country Homestead. Good. I guess it's morning for you, Jack. Good evening here, and welcome. Thank you for being here. And then we've got KP Heathen from Louisiana, one of my favorite food places in the world. Germany, Italy, and Louisiana, that places to go for food. Of course, Texas is great, especially along the border for Mexican food. But and Triple G Farms and I like a particular chicken fried steak, and so I'll be telling you, I may have to. We were looking at a time when we might be able to get together and have chicken fried steak again, and I may have to back out on that. Let me see. Idaho Insider, hello, welcome. WD Glock and Roll, welcome. Holly Ivans, Holly. So you're here. Hopefully you got the announcement and everything on time. Great. Diana too, welcome. Annie Luhu. I got to put my glasses on. Annie Luhu, is that what it says? Annie Luhu. Lenny Uhu 1. Liberty Hill, you're a neighbor. So as a matter of fact, I will be going to a shooting range in Liberty Hill coming up here tomorrow. A friend and I have a friend that we have a men's group that gets together every Tuesday morning at Casa Garcia's in Round Rock. And so we have breakfast in Round Rock every Tuesday morning at 8:00, and a small prayer group, and then we go from there. So welcome, Liberty Hill. I hope you get involved in the Cedar Park CERT. They don't call it CERT anymore. I'm a member of the CERT club there. I'm also a member of the Williamson County Ham Radio Club. So we'd love to see you at either one of those two. So happy to see you here. We'll have to get together, have a cup of coffee, and sit down and talk. Butch Graves, welcome from the Four Corners area. Golly, look at all the fantastic people. 14 people here. Thank you so much for being here. So let me give you just a real quick announcement because I need to apologize. I may have some coughing. I have a very wet cough. I went to the doctor today. It turns out that I've come down with walking pneumonia. So I'm currently taking both doxycycline and prednisone. Of course, prednisone, you need somebody who talks like I do, wired, right? So you can talk even faster. But anyhow, I'm taking prednisone, so I'm semi-wired. But anyhow, and hopefully we'll get that under control here in the next couple of days. Right now, I'm batching it. The wife is visiting the grandchildren in New Jersey. So she left. I put her on the plane at Austin Bergstrom International last Thursday. It was 71 degrees when I put her on the plane, and when she got off at Newark in New Jersey, it was 17. So the numbers were just reversed: 71 here, 17 there. Quite a shock to the body. Prepper Book Club, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. So anyhow. About this phenomenal, fantastic book. We're doing a couple things. It has a 52-week plan, so that if you follow the 52-week plan and make one purchase, Little Lone Prepper, howdy, welcome. Thank you, Sumi. Yeah, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to try to get as much rest and do a couple things a little bit differently. I have a couple obligations. I was trying to get taken care of by Saturday. I may have to just postpone a couple things because I just need lots of liquids, lots of hydration, and lots of rest, and take my medicine on time. I think I'll be okay. But one of the things, this book has 52 projects, and it has 52 weeks of food purchases. So if you follow the purchase plan, then at the end of the 52 weeks, you will have enough food for 2,000 calories of food for 2 adults for 10 months. Okay. So if last time we got together, I'm sorry, last week I was at Cedar Park, Texas, and we have E-Stars, which is the replacement for CERT. We had our first aid training, so I apologize for that, but that was quite important. So last week you should have purchased. So we're trying to get 4 weeks worth of purchases all at one time because we're speeding this up because I think SHTF is going to happen here very quickly. So make sure you're paying attention. Last week you should have purchased 50 pounds of wheat or flour, 6 pounds of macaroni, 20 pounds of sugar, and 8 cans of tuna. Oh, by the way, let me get that name right. It was Woohoo One. Annie Luhu One. We are very fortunate in the fact that in Round Rock, we have a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Provident Living Store. So if you're looking for long-term food storage, and that's number 10 cans of flour, macaroni, spaghetti bites, beans. They have white, black, pinto, all kinds of different things. Very, very good prices. But they're only open on Tuesday evenings and Saturday mornings. So send me an email. My email address is in my About Me. And if you want to know, and I'll give you the link so that you can check out where it is and possibly take advantage of that. So that last week we should have gotten 50 pounds of flour or wheat, 6 pounds of macaroni, 20 pounds of sugar, and 8 cans of tuna. For the week coming up, okay, so this is week number 3 that we're in right now. We will be purchasing or acquiring. What did I do with my glasses? I need my glasses to see my glasses. Isn't that kind of a twist on things? We need 6 pounds of yeast, which is very good because the last thing we're going to talk about this evening is collecting yeast naturally. So how do you collect and keep your own yeast, better known as sourdough starter? Another 50 pounds of wheat or flour, 8 cans of tomato soup. And the reason we're saying tomato soup, I know that there are some of you who may have allergies to the nightshade family of plants, of which the tomato is one. But the reason is because there's so many different things we can do with tomato sauce, tomato paste, tomato soup. So if that is the case, if you are allergic to tomato soup, then I would strongly recommend that you consider getting either French onion soup, or you consider getting cream of mushroom soup or cream of chicken soup. Those 3 are going to be fantastic stock bases that you can use in lieu of the tomato soup if you're allergic to it. And then 20 pounds of sugar. So I'll be showing those on the pantry haul Saturday. I'm at the point now to where there's very little room left for food. So I'm kind of catching up on a lot of other things. The only food I'm getting right now in my pantry is my $100 a month order from Thrive Life, and just to keep my distributorship open on that. And then so I'm finding places for those cans. So this coming month for March, I think I've got 1 number 10 can and 2 number 2.5 cans that I'm going to be purchasing, about $125. But I'm really slowing down on my food purchases because Helen says I cannot take over any more rooms in the house. That's just a flat down rule that she's got for me. But where was I going with that? Oh, so anyhow, so I'm buying mostly other things. We talk about in a post SHTF, what value will you add? The book we'll be talking about Thursday, which is volume 12, I believe. Yeah, book 12 of the Survival Series by A. American. They're talking about different things that people do in a post-apocalyptic world to add value. And so one of the things they're talking about is this one guy takes old tires and old carpet and makes shoes out of them. So, in a total collapse, you're going to have to think about, what am I going to do to add value? Well, the one thing I'm going to do to add value is I want to make candles. or reconstitute old candles that people bring me and then bring those into candles. And I'll also be doing water collection and purification. Hi, Ting Ting, welcome. Okay, so Jack says that he opted for baking powder, a 20-kilogram bag, easier to store, vacuum seal, and bucket in the dark room. That's fantastic. Hello, Ting Ting, welcome. The Unknown Knows by Volvo D. Oh, wow. Welcome. That's the first time I've seen your name as well. Very happy to have you here with us. Theoxerus, of course, is a good old friend. He's also from here in Texas. We got a couple Texans here. So anyhow, so those are the 4 things you need to pick up over the course of the next month. Let me go through those one more time. 6 pounds of yeast. Store it in the freezer if you have room, okay? 50 pounds of wheat or flour. You can get the 5-pound bags of flour and then just take that bag. Don't even dump it out of the bag. Take that bag because you're going to use the paper as a filter in that bag. Put it in your vacuum sealer and vacuum seal it, and it'll last you a long, long time. If you pour the flour out of the bag into your vacuum sealer bag, and then try to put it in your vacuum sealer, all that flour will get sucked into your vacuum and it'll muck things up for you. So you really don't want to do that. Leave it in the bag so you can use the paper of the bag as a filter. Believe me, it'll be hard as a rock. You'll get all that air out of there when you get it taken care of. And then the 8 cans of soup and 20 pounds of sugar. You can do the same thing with your sugar. Although sugar does not go rancid like flour does, okay? Flour will eventually kind of just turn, and not that great a thing. So let's get into the contents. So chapter 9, project number 9, make an emergency food bar. So this is basically what they're doing is they're taking something equivalent to pemmican, which was what the Native Americans used. And so it's a combination of fat, berries. They used a lot of blueberries and blackberries. Then they also used bison fat. They used flour. And of course, they would use different flours that they would get off the plains and not necessarily always wheat. Acorn flour, corn flour. I mean, different kinds of flour is what they would use to make their pemmican. So it goes into the recipe here and what you need to do to make it. Now, one of my favorites, let me get my little display down here, is you can get from Nutrient Survival. They have 3 different brands of these. Now it's a little bit on the expensive side, I got to tell you, but it's worth them. It's great value, but it is expensive. Okay, and you can get from Nutrient Survival the chocolate chip cookie meals. So 2 bars of this chocolate chip is equal to a meal. Okay, and so it's got 15 servings per can. And it's going to end up costing you about $2.50 per serving. Okay. And with that, this is nutrient enhanced. So they add all kinds of things to it. So you're going to get 220 calories per serving of 2 bars. You're going to get 13% of your fat and 14% of your dietary fiber, 24 grams of carbs, and then 25 to 30% for every 2 bars of almost all your other essential nutrients and vitamins. Okay, so they have the chocolate chip, they have peanut butter, and then they have an oatmeal bar. I prefer the chocolate chip and the peanut butter. Helen really likes the peanut butter. That's her favorite. But we have to be careful because we have to limit her carb intake. But anyhow, this is a good recipe that you can follow for how to make a good, decent survival bar. So where do I put the survival bars in my overall plan? As you know, I like to have a plan of, the first week, I'm going to empty my refrigerators and freezers, and I'm going to be cooking outdoors just like the rest of my neighbors. Most families probably have somewhere between 3 to 7 days worth of food in their home. So SHTF happens now. That means that tomorrow I'll be out in the backyard running up my grill and cooking what I have available. So is everybody else. You want to be doing what they're doing. Then at the end of that week, food's going to be short. You come inside the house, you don't want to do any cooking. That's where you're going to start using things like MREs, Nutrient Survival also has what they call a meal ready to eat of their version, where all you do is add boiling water. Mountain House Foods, all you do is boil water and add it to it. You want to prepare foods for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks where you're not doing any cooking. It's going to be basically instant meals so that you're not having any odors. You don't want to have the odor of cooking foods wafting through the air to all your starving neighbors. You want to kind of be a gray man about this. So that's where you're going to have these bars, these survival bars, and this just add water foods are going to be so critically important to you for those next 3 to 4 weeks. Then after that, then you can start cooking again, because you remember the rules of 3, right? It's 3 minutes without air, 3 hours in very bad climate without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. So most people can only survive about 3 weeks without food. I saw a question from Jack, and I think it was about the nutrient survival. Let me catch up here with all this stuff up here. So if you do go to Nutrient Survival, I am an affiliate, and I will give you, if you use my link, I get a small commission. I get a small referral fee. If you use CWP10, you get a 10% discount. Now, let me tell you something. I would love to take your money, but that's not what's most important to me. If you order $100 or more worth of Nutrient Survival stuff, you can get $37.50 worth of samples. So it's basically 1 serving of instant eggs, 1 serving of a milkshake, 1 serving of milk, but you get 5 different servings, value of $37.50. So that means my 10% is not as good as that free thing you're going to get from them until you spend over $375. Most people aren't going to do that. I know I can't do that. So since that's the case, take the free stuff they give you. Do a mathematical computation. Whatever's best for you, do it for you so you get the maximum amount of food in your home and ready to go. Okay. We have kangaroo grass is a natural local grass, not as dense as wheat, but does the job. There's a fantastic guy. His name is, I believe it's Eric. No, I forget his name now. Epic Gardening. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. He has a standard 1/4 acre lot. He's down in the San Diego area, and he took half of his backyard and dedicated it to growing wheat. And so after 1 full season of growing wheat, after he harvested it, ground it, and everything else, he had just enough flour to make 1.5 loaves of bread. So if you're thinking about growing wheat so you can have bread, you might do better off by having cornmeal, grow corn, or amaranth. Amaranth is a very good substitute in lieu of wheat, and you're going to get a lot more of it for your space. The next one is Triple G is asking, how are the Thrive Life eggs? Fantastic. There are 2 things from Thrive Life I really, really like. The eggs and their homestyle scramble. There's homestyle scramble. So homestyle scramble is, how you like my little magnetic thing there, huh? But anyhow, homestyle scramble is basically what I call Bauernfrühstück, or German farmer's breakfast. So this has got everything except the meats for a German farmer's breakfast. It's got potatoes, onions, eggs, and everything else, and you just mix it together. The nice thing about Nutrient Survival is it's all pre-cooked. So you just add the boiling water and then let it seep, and it cooks as it's mixing in that hot water. Ideal for those 3 to 4 weeks after that first week of SHTF, so that you're not cooking and people aren't smelling you cooking. Okay, you're not going to draw any attention to you. Let me see. Oh, I haven't asked Ting Ting, how's your husband? I haven't seen or heard from him in a long time. Gosh, I guess it's been probably about 2 years. Okay, so Phioxera says he has a pretty good handle on the things he needs to get more of when he shops. So he just picks up a few by, yes, I am the same way, Phioxera. I try to avoid buying case lots. I bought a couple. I just recently, my last pantry haul, I bought a case pizza slices from Bridgeford. That's the MRE pizza slices, pepperoni pizza slices, got 12 of those. I was at Sam's, and they had Wolf brand chili without beans on sale. And I purchased a case of Wolf brand chili without beans. Then they had pinto beans, a case of pre-cooked canned pinto beans on sale. So I bought the case of pinto beans. We can go through chili and beans like you would not believe in our family. And so what we like to do is we like to mix chili and rice. So we will quite often fix a can of chili and then a couple cups of rice, and then just mix that, and we have it together. So that's how we kind of expand on that meal a little bit. So Little Lone Prepper is adding some cornstarch to, oh yeah, the great idea. You can also do that with a roux of flour. But if you aren't, I will tell you, I believe cornstarch to be one of those essentials that everybody needs to have in their pantry. Okay, that's going to be essential for thickening the stews and everything. When did I go there? There's a new Chinese Asian restaurant in town, up in Georgetown, on Liberty Hill Road, as a matter of fact. And I went there, Saturday. I went there Saturday, and they could have used some cornstarch because I had Kung Pao chicken. It was very runny sauce, whereas typically you're going to have a little bit thicker sauce. But I think they forgot the cornstarch in it. Let me see what Jack says. Theoxerus, cheap compared to buying yeast every 2 weeks, and it's easy to store. 7 years of preps for 5 people is what we have to maintain. Baking powder is a viable option for our preps. Absolutely. Triple G is talking about eating donkeys. They, during World War II, the protagonists and antagonists on the Eastern Front had a lot of horse-drawn carts. Their infantries were using horse-drawn, donkey-drawn carts. And if you read the stories and the accounts of people who survived from the Sixth Army, they were eating their horses, their draft animals, at the end in order for them to survive. So that's not something new. Freeze dried is way too expensive. Could have bought the actual freeze dryer with the money we spent on crap. True. And the difference is, I've been buying, I think I became a distributor with Thrive Life. Back then it was called something else. It was called, I forget the name. Shelf something. But 2008 is when I started when I became a distributor with Thrive Life. And so and of course I've had the LDS stuff. It used to be, before they came up with Desiree Farms, which is their suppliers now for the LDS store. They used to have Rainy Day Foods, and I really like Rainy Day Foods. Rainy Day Foods and Desiree Farms, the LDS store, are the two that I think are the highest value as far as you're going to get good quality stuff for inexpensive prices. So I really recommend Rainy Day Foods as well. Of course, I've got to say I'm sold on Thrive Life. So. And I've been putting in an order every month since 2008. Oh yeah, absolutely. Great idea. Let me see. Somebody told me, it was Tool Man Tim told me that I need to be able to talk and read at the same time because people want to hear you talk. That was his constructive criticism of me, and thank you very much for that, Toolman Tim. I'll try to keep doing that. So Theoxerus, I agree. I think freeze-dried meals have their place. There are some from Thrive Life that are good. They'll feed a family of 3 or 4. I really like the freeze-dried soup bases from, I pick one up all the time. I forget the name of the company now. But you can get them at any grocery store. They're about $3.85 or something like that, $4 for a bag that feeds 8. I just got one I showed in my last pantry haul that is their potato soup. But what I do is I get a can of regular corn kernels and a can of cream of corn, dump those into the potato soup, and then you have basically a cream of corn soup for using the potato soup as a base. what's the name of that company? I'll probably think of it by the time we finish here this evening. Let me see where we are. Gosh, thank you all so much for being so respectful to each other and talking and chatting and helping each other with suggestions and ideas and reinforcing each other. We are so darn lucky to have such a great crowd of people. I mean, we don't have that many. Well, we've had one or two trolls. We've gotten rid of them, but and it wasn't me. I think other channels complained about them trolling there. But anyhow, thank you so much for being who you are and taking care of each other the way you do. If we were in the USA, we would be investing a lot of time and effort into coupon discounts. Keep what they need in our preps or sell or barter. Absolutely. I do the same thing. You will see it quite often that I will pick up a can of Chef Boyardee SpaghettiOs or ravioli or something like that. Not for me. I intend to use that as barter. The same thing with Vienna sausage. It's a nice little can. You can give that away as barter. I'm not a big fan of oatmeal, but I buy oatmeal because I'm going to give that away as barter items. And I think food and water are going to be two of those very highly barterable items, probably more so than anything else. But be very cautious. So I think I said this several videos ago, probably a couple of years ago. One of the things you might want to consider doing is taking your oatmeal or whatever and putting it, let's say, into a gallon jug or a gallon mason jar or into a gallon Ziploc bag or something like that, and just leaving a little bit in the bottom of that tube that they come in, and then give that tube with just a little bit at the bottom to whoever comes in that you're sharing with. That way it looks like you're giving the last of what you have. Instead of, if you give them a baggie with oatmeal in it, then they think, oh, they might have more. So it's just a little psychological ploy there and how you might want to try that. So yes, I agree. Raccoons, possums, you name it. They're going to be a lot of things. I don't think they'll be eating too much skunk or rattlesnake, but Diana too. Thank you. Yes, that's what it was. Shelf reliance. Gosh. So I guess you have a history with them too, or did you look that up? Bear Creek, Phylloxerus, got all the stuff that the senior mind on prednisone is forgetting this evening. You guys are covering me so well. Thank you so much. Thank you for being my memory extension. How's that? You guys are fantastic. Thank you. So shelf reliance is what used to be, is what Thrive Life is today. And they had fantastic shelving systems. I was thinking about buying one, but I didn't, only because you put stuff in it up here and it rolls down, and then you pull from the bottom so that the cans are always rotating themselves as you pull them out. But then when I took a look at it, what I found was that I'm sacrificing about 50% of my storage space for the convenience of the self-rotating items. So I'd rather be able to store more than be worried about having the oldest come to me first. I don't know about tumbleweed, but I have eaten prickly pear. So, and that's quite common around here. Annie Lou, you're quite welcome. I'm so happy you found us and that you're here with us. And one of the things I'm finding out is I've seen 3 different channels talk about it today. Maybe it's all coming from the same source, and the 3 of them all read the same source. But I'm hearing that there's a lot bigger interest in prepping right now, that there's been like a 4-fold increase in people prepping just over the course of the last month or 2 than what there has been historically. So bearing that in mind, I'm probably going to start another introduction to prepping discussion live, start from the very basics. Probably do that on Thursday evenings, but I'm going to have to purchase the pro version of whatever this program is that I use for StreamYard, so that I can do more hours, because it ends up to where I get a little bit of a fine when we have the book club. This month I probably won't, because we didn't do last Tuesday. I was at the Cedar Park first aid But anyhow, thank you very much for being here with us. We hope you'll subscribe, like us, and subscribe, and come back for more. On Monday nights, we do Intro to U.S. Government and Civics. On Tuesday nights, we do this. Then the last Thursday of the month, we do a fiction book club, and this has been a fantastic series. One of the main things he's stressing here is foraging, but most of the foraging information he gives us is relevant to Florida. And then on every Saturday, I put out a Prepper Pantry haul video for you to watch. And then I've been trying to put out some menus and items that you can use and recipes, and then attaching a 1 or 2 minute video, sometimes a 4-minute video on how to cook it, but what you need to pick up in order to cook that meal. Because I very strongly believe in planning your meals around getting the entire components all at one time to cook that meal. Oh, great, Holly. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's fantastic. And do me a favor. Just go to Rainy Day Foods, RAINYDAYFOODS.com. Take a look at what they have. You're going to find they have alphabet soup and number 10 cans. They have all kinds of great stuff. I purchased a couple. I don't think they do it anymore, but they had some cake mixes and long-term stored, where all you had to do was just add water. They had the yeast in them and everything else. They have long-term storage yeast. They have all kinds of fantastic stuff. Great company. I strongly recommend them. The Russian bread line, you only have a quarter loaf today, as breadline workers make a profit. Okay, let me see. Canned pesto sauce, great idea. Thank you for that. Jeannie Barnes, welcome. Nice to see you. Welcome to the group. Hope you like us and subscribe. Thank you. That's a fantastic suggestion. Absolutely. So pesto sauce is a great substitute. One of the other things I'm going to recommend, if you're interested in things to barter or a barter value, is Ragu has a box, and it has 4 individual servings of pasta sauce. So if you don't have an allergy to pasta sauce, get that Ragu box, and that way you have 4 individual servings of pasta sauce. You can give that away as a barterable item. I think that's going to be very, very good too. Actually, I agree with you 100%, Jack, because the more they prepare for themselves, the less of a burden they'll be on the rest of us. And so, if anybody's just getting started and you're willing and you want to do it and you're very serious about it, please email me. What can I do to help you? I want to help you save as much money as you can. I have wasted, since I started prepping during the Cuban Missile Crisis. My next door neighbor was the neighborhood civil defense warden, and he built a cinder block fallout shelter in his backyard. So here I was, a ripe young guy of 11 years old during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I got into it, and everything I could get from him, I got. And I had a collection of civil defense books by the time I was 12, like you would not believe. So Ting Ting says she gives LDS work about every 2 weeks in exchange for work they give me. Oh, wow, that's great. So the quality of which I speak. Yeah. The taps for my DIY backup water filter came today. Great. And that's on his near-term project list. I was watching Alaska Prepper, Rudy, just before this, and he has another water purification company, and it is Simpure, Simpure. And he says it's the same thing as Alexa Pure and Berkey, just a little bit less expensive. So I'm going to have to check that out and see if what he's saying is true. Although I trust Rudy. Rudy's a good heart. Absolutely. Pat, I'm going to give you 2 different answers. One's going to be just add water, and the other is going to be add water and cook. Okay. So of the just add water, I'm going to say I prefer nutrient survival. Okay. Number two, right behind that, gosh, it's so hard. I could almost say number one, because Mountain House has meat, little pieces of meat stuck in it, whereas nutrient survival only has eggs. So I'm going to say you won't do wrong with either one, Mountain House or nutrient survival, if all you want to do is add water and have a meal. Let it seep. If it's going to be add water, reconstitute it, and then cook it for an omelet or something like that, I think that there's nothing better than Thrive Life. Algerson Farms has a very good competition that I think you won't go wrong buying Algerson Farms at all. Rainy Day Foods I've got theirs still in storage. I haven't cooked any of theirs yet, so I can't give you an opinion on theirs. But Rainy Day Foods also has that. Now remember, if you're going to do baking and you need eggs to mix in with your cakes and stuff like that, you can't use the powdered eggs that you're going to use for scrambled eggs and things like that. You have to get a totally different egg product, and that's going to be called whole eggs. And Algerson Farms is the #1 seller of whole eggs. And I usually get a 1.5 pound bag of that about every 2 or 3 months. But that's what you're going to need for baking purposes. You won't be able to use either the nutrient survival, just add water, and you won't be able to use the Thrive Life in your baking. So that's a little bit different. Then Ting Ting, then I owe you an apology because I thought you were somebody else. I thought that you were living in the Ozarks in southern Missouri with a guy that I knew 2 years ago and was with him on his channel for quite a while. So I have you confused with another person, and I apologize for that. I think so. So out in the garage, and of course, I've had some comments. The guy who takes care of our air conditioner and heating system lives across the street. And he said, holy crap. He says, are you the guy who took all the toilet paper off of the shelves during COVID? And I said, no, we didn't have any problems during COVID because I had this ahead of time. But I've got a 4-shelf rack, the black ones you get at Sam's, and you can fit the Sam's toilet paper 3 to a shelf. So I've got 12 cases or packages, big packages of toilet paper on that one. Then the one next to it, half of it is toilet paper and the other half is paper towels. And then next to that is nothing but paper plates. And although I think if you're going to start investing now in paper plates and paper bowls and stuff like that, I would recommend, and I'll try to get one. I'll have it available. I'll try to show it here shortly. But they have, I call them food service boats, but they're the little cardboard. It looks like a boat. It looks like the Ark when you look at it from the side. Typically, when you go to a fair or something, you're going to get a hamburger and French fries in it. Those aren't waterproof. So that's what I prefer as far as a survival utensil, as far as a keeping for soups or for foods. So that's what I have the vast majority of. Then after that, my next major purchase is going to be bowls, because I think that in an SHTF environment, we're going to be eating primarily soups, stews, casseroles, and chowders. And I think that's going to be what most of us are probably going to be eating, rice-based, noodle-based, and things like that. So freeze-dried typically will not have salt. It's going to be just natural from what it is. Now, there are some preserved things that have way too much salt. I will agree with you. And there are some that are dehydrated. They have a lot of salt. But for example, when you salt pork and things like that, some of the older preservations for meat, bacon, things like that, that was nothing but salt. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. You see here. Okay. So Triple G Farms used to do Ilva Easy egg crystals. Yes, mapping edible pine nuts would be very handy. One of the other things you want to be careful of, and that's pointed out in this book, he stresses it so many times. He's teaching foraging to a family or to a group of people. He says, don't over pick when you forage. Make sure that you leave some there so that it can go back and reseed. Because if you know, this is the old story of Aesop's golden goose that laid the golden egg. You know, if you're happy just taking the eggs, then you're better off. If you try to kill the goose because you want a whole bunch more, then you're not going to have any more eggs. Same thing when you're foraging. So if you're foraging, if you take everything that's there, then there's nothing to put seed back into the ground that give you a constant supply of foods. So make sure that you're not over foraging in an area. Okay, I need to get down here and cover these other things here. Gosh, great comments. Thank you all so much. Okay, so that was number 9. Number 10, gosh, we've only got a couple minutes left too, is canning whole grapes. So you can can whole grapes, and not raisins, but whole grapes. And then number 11 is basically brandied fruit. And he talks about brandied strawberries. Now, for those of you who are averse to alcohol, he says, first he says, you can use other things. You can use vodka, you can use rum or something like that, but he prefers the taste of brandy. So he does all of his canning and brandying or brandied fruit with brandy. And he gives a fantastic recipe here I'm going to have to try. So that's another way of preserving your fruits other than canning. And then project number 12, I want to get into a little bit in greater detail, is collecting yeast. So, and he talks about basically how to make your own sourdough starter. So he says you need 3 cups of distilled or boiled water. He lets it sit for a couple of days to release all the chlorine that's in it, because, you have the chlorine from our purified waters. And then he uses 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So it's 1-to-1 mixture of water and flour. And then you put that into a measuring cup, a mixing bowl, and you put a clean towel over top of it so that the spores for the yeast can get in, but nothing else. You're not going to get any fly larvae or anything like that. And then you're going to need a quart mason jar and a spoon to stir it and all that kinds of stuff. So I have 2 of these, okay? And I strongly recommend this company. And the reason I have 2 is because I have a tendency to screw things up, and I like to have redundancy. But this is a sourdough starter kit that you can get, and I'll put the link to it from Amazon in the chat below. So what you have is, this is basically a quart-sized jar. It's got all the measuring here. It's got this little cover, like a granny cover that you can put over the top, and so it just fits on there with an elastic cord. So that keeps so you can have the air coming in, and of course, as you get the yeast developing, it's going to produce gases that you don't want to blow a lid off. Okay, so that's got that. It's got this handy tape around it, and so what the handy tape is you've got this line that comes down here on one side, and it says last fed on, and then it has the 7 days of the week, and it has AM, noon, and PM, so that you can keep up with the last time that you fed your sourdough starter, so that you can keep it fresh throughout the entire time. Really love this system. Like I said, I love it so much I have 2 of them because I'm afraid that I might overdo or do one wrong or whatever. Another thing that's really great is you got to keep your sourdough starter at an ideal temperature. So it comes with a little temperature sensitive thermometer, so that you just stick this, it peels on the back, you put it on the jar, probably over here close to where your last fed line is, and it just sticks on the jar. It'll keep record of what the temperature is of your starter, so that you can keep it in an ideal temperature setting. And then it also comes with a little spoon, a stirrer that's Teflon on a stick, so that you can go in there and stir it up and all that kinds of stuff. The only thing you're going to need now is you're going to need a long handled spoon that you can get in there and dig the sourdough starter out and pull that out as you're using it to start your sourdough bread. So this is one of those things I think is going to become critical. I think I have plenty of yeast, but yeast can go bad. So I've got probably I've got 2, I know for sure, of those red, I think it's half-pound bricks of yeast. I have those in the freezer, in the freezer out in the garage. Then I have probably, oh gosh, 3 cans of rainy day foods, number 2.5, which is the pantry size can, about this size, of yeast, freeze dried yeast. Just add water, and probably have 3 of those. That I have, the tins that you get your Christmas cookies in, gingerbread cookies and things like that, or and you know what I'm talking about, the Danish cookies. It's a big tin, and it's probably about this tall, probably about that big around. They have all the Danish cookies in it. I have one of those filled with the little 3-packs of yeast, both the fast yeast and the regular yeast. And so I'll throw an oxygen absorber in there with those, just to try to keep that going well. So just some things for you to think of. I will put a link for this kit in the show notes. I hadn't thought about that. I should do that to make it convenient for you. But that's one of those things you might want to consider. And it also comes with a little instruction guide in case you're like me and need remind you on what it is that you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to do it. So that's kind of where we are. And gosh, so don't forget, for the next, if you're going to follow the plan, what I do with my book, there it is down there. Get all this stuff that I'm. So for the next week, and I might as well just go ahead and tell you what we've been so far. So for week 1, we did 6 pounds of salt, 5 cans cream of chicken soup, 20 pounds of sugar, and 8 cans of tomato soup. Week 2, we did 50 pounds of flour or wheat, 6 pounds of macaroni, 20 pounds of sugar, 8 cans of tuna. Now, I will tell you the flour, the sugar, the macaroni are all available through the LDS Provident Living Store, which is going to be your best value for the money. And you can order those by the case, by the way, and save on shipping charges. If you order, I think it's at least 1 case from Rainy Day Foods, I think you get free shipping. If you order $100 worth of stuff from Thrive Life, you get free shipping. Oh, you have to be on the monthly subscription plan too. Okay, so week 2 was 50 pounds of wheat or flour, 6 pounds of macaroni, 20 pounds of sugar, 8 cans of tuna. And then week 3, the week we're in now, you need to pick up 6 pounds of yeast. 50, and so that's why I said that's kind of that last topic about sourdough starter. 50 pounds of wheat or flour, 8 cans of tomato soup, and 20 pounds of sugar. So that's kind of where we are. What thoughts or comments? Let me see where we are. Let me see if you've got anything that needs to be added to this. No, Utah, Mike, I don't. I don't. The closest thing I have to a mill is I have both an electric and a hand grinder coffee bean grinder. And so I may use that, but I don't have any wheat berries. So everything I bought has been flour in number 10 cans from the LDS Provident Living Store. So I'm looking right now at a couple things. I want to get one of those manual egg beaters. And I've been going to Goodwill and thrift stores and everywhere else looking for a manual egg beater. I want to get one of those. I would like to get a USB rechargeable immersion blender, because I think that's going to be a great thing to have for some of the soups and stews and chowders that I'll be making in a post-apocalyptic world. I have one that's on a cord, but I just want one that's USB rechargeable so I can use my smaller system outside. So for those of you who don't know, about 5 years ago, I decided I wanted solar, and I got solar. And when they came in and installed the solar, it was 90% of average consumption. Well, you don't use much electricity here in Texas, Central Texas, in the winter, but you use an awful lot of it in the summer. Air conditioning becomes extremely critical to us. So then phase 2 was I inherited some money, and so phase 2, I installed a battery backup system. One of the things I found out was if you have a solar system and you don't have battery backup, it doesn't work when you have an Ice-Mageddon. So then I got the battery backup, and it worked well during Ice-Mageddon 2 here in Central Texas. And but then phase 3, after we got some more things taken care of out of the estate, sold the house, and all that kind of stuff, I told the company, by that time they'd been bought out by ADT. I originally was dealing with SunPro Solar, then they got bought out and were purchased by ADT Solar. Do not do business with ADT Solar. I had a very bad experience with them. I have a Better Business Bureau complaint filed against them. I would not recommend them to anybody. Please don't have the same experience that I had. But I told them, I said, hey, I've got 90% of average. I want 90% of peak so that I can produce and have plenty of electricity for freezers and air conditioners. Although air conditioners are a 220 system and your solar system is only going to provide 110. So what I did was I bought a Black & Decker air conditioner system, and I'm going to use that Black & Decker room air conditioner in one room that we're going to designate as our cool room during the summer. So that'll be how we get cool in the summer, is just having one room that we're going to keep cool. And that'll be able to be powered by the solar system that we currently have. Then I also have the Jackery system, Jackery 5000, so I can use that in case we need more. Then I have a Honda 5 kW gas generator, but I'm just afraid of storing a whole bunch of gas for that gas generator. So that kind of concerns me. Let me see. Lil Mama Rogue, welcome, by the way. That's a new name. I will have that in the show. What I'll do is I will go to my Amazon page. I'll get that link. I will put it in the show notes. It'll be at the very second sentence on the description. It'll be there by 10 o'clock this evening. So I will do that as soon as I get this replay available online. I will have that link there for you. And then, so if you give me about 15, 20 minutes, I should have it there after we shut down. Okay. Oh yeah. So Little Lone Prepper, I don't know if you saw my pantry haul from Saturday. Cranberries are one of my favorite things. I think it's extremely important for digestive tract. And so I found a company, I haven't tasted them yet, but basically a really small bag, but it's going to make 100 glasses of cranberry juice. It's a 50-to-1 concentrate. So, that's going to be great. So the Utah Mike has solar to power his freezer as well. So yeah, I think I answered that. So if you don't want to wait for this one in particular, you can do it your own research on Amazon. Otherwise, I will put the link on there. Just be aware, if you use the link that I give you, I get 2% as a referral fee. So I'll make a little bit of money off of what it is that you purchase. Oh, great idea. Thank you. I never have ordered from Country Life. As a matter of fact, I didn't know they existed until just now you mentioning it. So TJ in Georgia, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you. I hope you would like us enough to subscribe as well. So Holly Ivans inherited them. When I think of the things that we threw away, just unbelievable. I'm fully aware of that, Jack. I'm also a distributor with EMP Guard, and so we do have EMP guards on the pickup, on my Toyota pickup, and we also have it on the solar system here on the house. Now, will they work? Your guess is as good as mine. All we can do is, pay megabucks and hope that they do. Kind of like the people who are buying those 2-year supplies of freeze-dried foods that's mostly whey and oatmeal. You hope they're going to taste good, but if SHTF happens and you got to dig into 2-year supply of cream of wheat and oatmeal, then there's not going to be anybody to complain to, because the company won't be there anymore. So Freedom Nugget, welcome as well. That's a new name as well. So he's also heard a lot about bad things about ADT Solar. Yeah. So Holly Ivans, yes, I was watching Texas news earlier this evening, and he was talking about it. And yeah, that's not looking good at all. Diana too. I had to take doxycycline recently. Have to follow instructions on how to take it carefully. Praying your well. Thank you very much. Yeah, so the wildfires are way far away from us. Although one of the worst wildfires we had here was just about 60 miles east of us, down in Burnett and is it Burnett? Bastrop. Bastrop had one of the worst wildfires that we've seen here in Central Texas. So that was terrible. That was probably about 10 years ago. Let me see here if I can catch up. Use my mouse because the arrow doesn't work on the Mac when we're in this thing here. So Pat Butler says she has solar generators for freezer backup, but I remember solar will not work for deep winter without sun. Absolutely correct. So that's one of the things that we did notice was the solar generated nothing. If you've got 3 inches of snow or ice on top of your solar panels and it's overcast, you're not going to generate anything. The same thing as wind does not generate anything when there's no wind. The same thing as hydroelectric does nothing during a drought because there's no water going through the plant. So all of these natural things that we're trying to use are totally dependent upon nature cooperating with us. So, gosh, okay, why am I having such a difficult time here? There we go. That came across twice. So Jack says every prepper needs to do a 1 week no power exercise. I agree on that. Eye-opening experience living with no power. I wholeheartedly agree. I agree. Solar oven is fantastic. So what I have is I have the Emberlit oven, and that you can use either the Safe Heat Fire, which is basically liquid paraffin. You can use charcoal. You can use any kind of a biomatter in it, and that will get up to 450 degrees. I have a Dutch oven that I think is going to do extremely well. And then I also have the camp oven from Coleman that works very well as well. Solar oven would be a fantastic addition to all that. But I think having 3 different forms of oven as it stands right now that I'm going to put although if you don't have a Dutch oven, if you don't have the Emberlit, get a solar oven before you get that other stuff. I would say Dutch oven's number 1. Solar oven number 2, then spend on the other things. So I think Utah Mike has a very good, valid suggestion there. Okay, so I think we're caught up. Wow, where are we? 57 minutes. I can't believe it. We did it. So who was it? Somebody just came across and took some of his bug out equipment out on a test run and said, make sure you test all of your equipment before SHTF happens. And so it just so happens that I had to take his advice. Where is it? It's right here somewhere. There it is. So I have two Geiger counters, right? So I said, you know what? He's right. I need to make sure that, do I need to calibrate this? What do I need to do? Well, it turns out you've got to program this on the internet before you use it. So if I had just relied on opening this up and turning on the batteries, I would never know whether or not I have fallout or radioactivity in my area. So I had so that reiterates the fact, make sure you test everything that you purchase as far as using it for prepping, so that you know how to use it. Use it before you need to, so that you're totally aware of what it is you have and how you're going to let me get rid of all of these alerts that I'm getting. Okay, let me see. So Little Lone Prepper says that she has had several times that she's been without power for at least 2 weeks. One was an ice storm and the others were hurricane winds when I lived near the coast. Yes, we had 2 ice mageddons here in Central Texas that we were without power. One of the other things that happens, and it happens during the rainy season. Here in Texas, we get an awful lot of dust. And I used to work in the electric power distribution industry. And so you get a lot of dust accumulation on the wires and on poles, power poles, and then we get some rain. When you get the rain, the dust is not that much of a conductor as it is. But then when you get rain and it turns into mud, then it becomes a conductor, and we get what we call pole top fires. So the tops of the power poles will catch on fire because of the shorting. And so that's another thing you have to be concerned about, is when you transition from a dry, dusty climate into a rainy climate, you have the opportunity for mud to accumulate and cause fires. Walmart carries lodge still work. Yes, Lodge, I prefer Lodge. That's what I have. As a matter of fact, I just saw that Lodge has a complete set out now that has the, I think it's a 12-inch Dutch oven with a lid that's also a griddle. So you can flip it over and use it as a griddle or use it as a frying pan. And it looks like a really neat system. I'll have to check on the price of that. I just glanced at it, haven't really checked it. Oh, wow. How did that go, TJ? Did that work well for you? Because I've never tried eating dandelions. That's one of the things, when I take a look at my life, and I'll give you a confession, and then we'll bring this to an end. I've been kind of focusing on different things, and kind of what's it called? There's an effect. But the effect is that basically when you don't know anything about something, you think you have it covered. And then once you start studying something, the more you learn about it, the more you realize you don't know about it. So, I got into firearms, I got into long-term food storage, I got into cooking, and I've kind of neglected some of the other areas. Neglected ham, I neglected gardening, I neglected a lot of things. I did a lot of good work in first aid and medical, and got advanced Red Cross certified and all that kinds of stuff. So there are some areas I'm really good at. There are some areas I really suck at. And what I'm finding is I don't have enough time to become an expert in some of those areas. So, I would say start learning some of the things, start doing things. Gardening is one that has a very long learning curve. And Jack has his gardens down there in Australia, and I've been watching him, and as he does his walk and talks, he walks you through his gardens basically, and I'm envious because I kill blueberry bushes. Who does that? So, TJ says that his cooking of the what was dandelions, I think it was good, great. So we'll have to get you on. We'll have to have you explain how you did that. That would be a fantastic interview. Okay, wow. So Jack says to get a stainless steel beer keg and cut it and put it over the open fire. I am also an affiliate with another company, and it's called Can Kettle, CANKETTLE. And I don't know if they have any in Australia though, Jack. Or Can Cooker is what it's called. But anyhow, they so what they did was they took old milk cans back on the pioneer days, the wagon trains going across, and they would make their soups and stews in these milk jugs. And they have 3 different sizes. I have the smallest. I want to get the largest so I can do soups and stews for the neighborhood. But I love it. And I put that on an open fire. I think I've done a couple cooking videos where you've seen me use my can cooker. I think it's a fantastic piece of equipment. It's basically an open fire pressure cooker is basically what it is. Okay. Oh, I'm sure I would. And Krusty's has a just add water sourdough pancake. Okay. So it seems as if I'm during my Bible studies, I'm finding out that everything I like is in the 6th chapter, Numbers 6, Deuteronomy 6, John 6, golly. So anyhow, we're going to go here to Numbers 6 and close this evening up. So to all of you who are new, 24 people on tonight, great new people I haven't seen before. I'm looking forward to knowing more about you and where you're from and what your interests are and what we can do to make this of value to you and help you in your preparedness journey so that we all get through this together. So, and we're going to start at the priestly blessing, which is starting at verse 22. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and tell them, this is how you shall bless the Israelites." So this is how we bless, golly, these false teeth. Bless preppers. Say to them, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So with that, as we bring this to an end, please thank you so much for being kind, polite, and respectful to each other, especially how supportive you are of each other in the chat. I can't tell you that means as much more to me than what it is that I present, because you guys have so much experience and so much knowledge, and you share it so well with each other. So remember, and I think you do a very good job of doing that, we're all in this together. And for those of you who are here in Central Texas, Triple G, I got to get with you because I went to Scott and White today, and I've been diagnosed with walking pneumonia. So I'm on prednisone and doxycycline. So I may have to cancel our planned luncheon this coming Saturday. I'm just going to stay in bed and try to drink lots of fluid, and we will get together soon. But it appears that we have 3 of us now in this immediate area where we can probably get together and have a lunch, and that would be fantastic. I'm not sure how far Feoxerus is away. I think he's about 2 hours away down towards Houston, but maybe we can kind of just get all of us together and have a luncheon or something. That would be phenomenal. So remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful. Do me a favor. Tomorrow, do a random act of kindness. Let somebody into traffic that doesn't think you're going to give them a break. Smile at somebody. Just grant somebody the graciousness of a kind smile and a wink and a head nod. Let's see what we can do to make this place a better world, because it's we who are going to be restarting it once SHTF happens, and we have the opportunity to build a kinder, friendlier, more respectful place. So please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because we're going to get through this together. Good night, everybody. Thank you to all the new people who are here. Absolutely love having you. Thank you for being here. And if you're in Central Texas, send me an email, coldwarprepper@outlook.com. And let's see if we can't make a plan when we can have coffee, lunch, whatever. Triple G and I have done that once. We're probably going to do it again. We have a new person here who is probably only 5 miles away from me. We've got to get together and see what we can do with that. So we'll see what we can do, and we'll have all kinds of stuff. SFDCL says, do I think it's time for God to step in? I absolutely do. And I think that this is going to be a lot of things. But just do me a favor. Remember one thing. If I don't know what religion you are, I'm Christian. And so if we take a look at every miracle that Jesus performed, he asked the person on whom he performed the miracle to take an action, to do something. And remember in 1 Titus 4, St. Paul tells Titus, if people are not willing to work, then they should also not eat. So I think it's time for God to step in, but I also believe that God is telling us that we have to do things ourselves as well. We have to take a step in order for him to grant us his grace and his salvation. And, we can't just sit back and apathetically wait for something to happen. We have to be his instruments, and we have to take care of our fellow man. Remember Matthew 25. And Matthew 25 tells us specifically that we have an obligation to clothe the naked, to feed the hungry, to visit those who are in jail, to take care of the orphans and the widows. And he said, and then the disciples asked him, Lord, when did we see the widow to take care of her, the naked to clothe, or whatever? How does that have to do with you? And Jesus responds and says, when you do this to the least of your fellow man, you are doing it to me. So we have this obligation together to take care of life and to make a better world. So that's my personal interpretation. My personal philosophy is basically Matthew 25. And, that's how I want to live. That's why I want that large can cooker. I want to get the large can cooker so I can take care, and I'm buying the Bear Creek soups once a week so I can make these big pots of soup and have it for my neighbors who survived that first 4 weeks after the apocalypse. And I'm going to take care of them. So there we go. So Jack and I are both traditional, the original Christians. We're Roman Catholic. And I am so traditional, Jack, that I say Dominus vobiscum et cum spiritu tuo, and I also say Pater noster qui es in caelis, sanctificator nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra, panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos diminimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. Which is the Lord's Prayer in Latin. So Everybody, please have a wonderful night. Pay attention to the news, get prepped, and thank you so much for being here. It means so much to the community at large because each and every one of you adds a value that we need. And thank you for sharing your knowledge, your value, your experience, and your priorities with us to make us better preppers too. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.